I'm really excited for this video here, guys. This is the best tool diver you can buy on the market. This is the Tudor Pelagos, the M25600TN, standing for titanium. I say this is the best tool diver because I put a poll in the community tab of my YouTube page. And I said, hey, between these three very respected tool divers, which one is the best? Which is the most toolish? 1,128 of you said it's the Xinyu 1. It is German submarine steel, fully tegamented. You can't beat that. That took 24% of the vote. 1,269 of you said, no, it's the Seiko tuna. It was built for one thing, this shrouded case, the 7C46 quartz movement, the crazy loom. This is the best. 27% of the vote. But the clear winner, 49% of the vote out of that 4,700 of you that took the time to give me your opinion, said, no, it's the Tudor Pelagos. This is the best or the most toolish diver on the market. And you know what? It is really hard to argue against that. This thing is fantastic. And I might be a little bit biased. I really enjoy Rolex. I really enjoy Tudor, but I also really enjoy some other brands as well. So we're going to talk about the great things about this model, and we're going to talk about the negative things about this model. We'll go into detail, and hopefully at the end of the video, you'll have a good sense of what this watch is all about. Maybe you're shopping this. Maybe you're thinking, hey, should I get this Pelagos? Should I go with the Planet Ocean from Omega? Should I keep saving and try to get a Submariner down the line? What should I be doing? I want a good daily diver from Switzerland. I'm going to give you guys my opinions. So let's start with the dimensions here. We have 42.2 in overall diameter, 50 in lug-to-lug length with a 14.3 overall case height here from the back of the case back to the top of the flat anti-reflective treated sapphire crystal, 22 millimeter lugs with a dramatic 4 millimeter taper to 18 where the clasp connects the two portions of the bracelet together. On the bracelet, we're about 155 grams in overall weight, so it will be lighter than most stainless steel watches, but it is surprisingly not feather light, not what you would expect with the titanium watch. And this is fully fashioned out of grade 2 titanium. The crown, the case, the bezel, the clasp, everything is titanium. And I will also mention that everything has a lovely satin brushing to it. So it has this austere, toolish feel to it that is a little stark, but it has, it has an attractiveness to it that I think is easily seen. There's high contrast between the white square markers, the snowflake hands, the indexing in this matte ceramic bezel insert. It's very legible and very toolish. I love the aesthetic. It looks so different from a Black Bay or a Submariner. Let me show you guys my Hulk here, my green sub. Very, very different, but you can see that they are distant cousins, I think, if you're looking at the two side by side. So this carries 500 meters of water resistance. There is a helium release valve on the 9 o'clock side of this case. And I will also mention the case when it comes to the finishing. It is all brushed, but there is some nuance here with the beveled edges of the case. It doesn't have that slab-like feel that you get with the Black Bay. And maybe I'm exaggerating, but the Black Bay feels more slab-like on wrist with the high polished sides done in stainless steel, the rather thin bezel. This has some more travel on the coin edging, the bezel here, and it does protrude a little bit slightly on the edges of the case. So you get some good grip here as you're utilizing the bezel. And I will say the bezel, it's one of the best in the business, if not the best. I'm partial to the Submariner, but let me give you guys a good sense of the action here. Very loud, very mechanical feeling, 60 click, and there is 0 backplay. So I'm going to be quiet here for a minute and let you guys hear this action. And there is one other thing to note. It's unique. I've not seen this on another dive watch, but as you're rotating the bezel and you get the triangular pip back to the 12 o'clock marker, the detent at the 12 is just a little bit tighter than it is on all of the other 59 positions. So you really know when you hit 12, and it's, you're not going to be overspinning, if that makes sense. It's really kind of a unique feature. Now, one of the things that I love about the Pelagos is the fantastic low light luminescence. So let me give you guys the lume shot here. You will see that this does have a lumed bezel insert. In natural light, it's white. This really has a look of, it almost looks like aluminum. It's not shiny, it's a matte finish, great contrast, but in low light, it is so satisfying. And honestly, guys, I don't know if this is a variation of Chromolite that Rolex uses or a variation of BGW9 from Superluminova, but regardless, it is bright, it has good longevity, and really is a highlight of this watch. It's just as legible in low light as it is in natural light. Now let's talk about the movement. We have the manufacturer Tudor 5612 in-house movement. This is a chronometer. This does have free-sprung balance architecture with a silicone hairspring, so it will be anti-magnetic, 70 hours of power reserve, 26 joules, and it beats at 28,800 beats per hour or 4 hertz. It carries a 5-year warranty and a 5-year recommended service interval. And I will say the finishing is very austere. It's almost all matte finished and really nothing to write home about. In fact, you could argue that this is a kind of ugly movement, and there's a reason why Tudor did not decide to put an exhibition case back on this like they did with their North flag to show you the movement, because really they don't want you to look at the movement. It's just to be accurate. And you compare that with, say, the Planet Ocean from Omega. They want to show you their arabesque finish, master chronometer, coaxial movement, because they took the time to dress it up a little bit. And even though that watch is a tool watch, it's a diver, it carries 600 meters of water resistance, they want to show you where a lot of the money that you're spending, where that goes. It's a different philosophy here with this Pelagos from Tudor. This is all about being functional and utilitarian. It's not about dressing anything up or showing off, right? When you buy this, you're not buying this to look at the movement. You're buying this because you're probably a saturation diver, or you go air diving recreationally, or, you just want a dang good sport watch that you can go anywhere and do anything in, and it's going to be unflappable. I really think that is the intent here with the Pelagos. Now let's take a look at the Bracelet. The Bracelet is another highlight of this model. So what we have here is oyster style links, and you get full articulation on each one of these pieces of titanium. The links are held together via screws, and notice there's a significant gap in between each link to aerate your wrist. Make sure if you're, working hard, you're sweating, you're going to be able to, get some good ventilation. You won't have any hairs pulled or anything like that. I like that. But the best part is this clasp. The clasp, it may be the best clasp out there. Again, it's all titanium. You have a flip lock system, and then notice the ceramic ball bearing detent. That is really nice to see. There are no micro adjustment holes on the side wall of this milled titanium clasp. What you do here is you pull the bottom portion down, and you can move in between 3 different micro adjustment positions without the need of a tool. And then if you pull it out to the last position, you engage the spring system. So maybe you wear your watches a tad tight, or maybe you're utilizing this clasp on the outside of your wetsuit when you're diving. You get better range of motion because that spring system engages, and you get some flex. It's really ingenious. I really like it. And then lastly, you push here, and you can engage a traditional dive extension system, which I think is overkill. I don't know that I would ever use this, but again, I'm not a diver. I would love to pick up diving one day. I'm landlocked in Utah. Maybe that happens one day, but I think the clasp is fantastic. The Bracelet is fantastic. The watch head, I don't know. I really like the design language. You can see the Rolex Submariner inspiration, but it's not a ripoff. It feels more utilitarian. To me, the Pelagos feels like what the Submariner used to be all of those decades ago, when it was more attainable and it was for a working man. Right, it was expensive, and you did have to save up quite a bit to get one. But you know what? The average hardworking individual could buy a Submariner and use it all the time in any situation. To me, it feels like the Pelagos is the modern day equivalent of that idea, if that makes sense. Now, let me show you the case here. Everything that comes with the watch, there is a small compartment that you can lift up where you see the included rubber strap. So if you don't want to dive with the bracelet, you can put it on the rubber, or maybe you want to save some wear and tear on your bracelet, you can wear it on the rubber. That's nice to see. Let's talk about negative elements here. We've talked all about the good and the details. What would be the negative elements? Well, first off, and I know a lot of you guys are saying this right now as you're listening to this review, it's tall. It is very tall, 14.3 in overall height, which is a deal breaker for some people. Now, let me share my take on this. Because this is fashioned out of grade 2 titanium, it wears light and it doesn't wear top heavy. It doesn't wear clunky or tall like a Black Bay, a new in-house Black Bay kind of feels to me. Now, I'm not trying to insult you if you have a Black Bay. It's still a great watch, but it wears tall, it wears heavy. And this one, although it is tall, it doesn't feel tall. So I think it would be nicer if it was thinner, ideally, but I don't think it's a deal breaker, if that makes sense. Now, some of you would agree with me, grade 5 titanium would be nicer than grade 2. Let's talk about that. Grade 5 is harder to scratch, but it's still rather easy to scratch, especially when you're comparing it to stainless steel or a coated steel or a special alloy like Zinn uses with their tegimenting process. So I think grade 5 would be nice, but you would still mark it up. You would still scratch it. And to me, a Pelagos looks good when it has a little bit of wear in it. When you see that the owner doesn't baby this, it's not a safe queen. Maybe they dive. Maybe they use this. They take it fishing. They go to the lake. They wear it all the time. They go anywhere, do anything. I think a Pelagos with a little bit of wear and tear is a nice thing. It's not a bad thing. Like you look at it on a Grand Seiko and that kind of hurts a little bit. But you look at wear and tear on a Pelagos and I don't know, you may have a little bit more respect for that owner, as silly as that sounds. Now, this is grade 2 and grade 2 is easier to refinish. So as the watch ages and you do opt for servicing and possibly refinish, it's going to look nice over the years. It's going to be easier to refinish than grade 5 is. Now, the last negative element, let me know where you guys stand on this, and that is the paragraph of text on the dial between the 6 o'clock marker and the hand stack. This says Pelagos, chronometer, officially certified, rotor self-winding, and then the water resistance designation, which is 500 meters. That is a lot of text to be found on the watch. And you might think it balances out, right? The aesthetics, or you might think that is just absolutely ridiculous. And there are memes floating around on the watch forums where people have photoshopped just text everywhere on the dial. I think that's kind of funny. I could go either way on this. I don't really have a preference, but I recognize why Tudor has done what they've done here. So in decades past, it was an advertising, just an advertising ploy to put rotor self-winding. So the average consumer knew that, hey, I don't have to wind the crown every day to wear this watch. It has a rotor, it's self-winding, right? That was the reasoning why Tudor put that on their dials. But you know what? We're not living 60 years ago. Most people know when you buy a Tudor, you're getting a mechanical watch that's powered by a rotor. So really, it's only placed here, I think, out of tradition and not out of anything else, if that makes sense. And how do you feel if Tudor would take rotor self-winding off of the dial? Would that be a good thing? Or would that be sacrilegious, so to speak? So I look at this, it is a lot of text on the dial. I don't think it's a deal breaker for me, but let me know what you guys think of it. Almost looks like the intro to a Star Wars movie, right? The text just keeps crawling out of the screen and going up and up. Anyways, I think the Pelagos is fantastic. If you guys couldn't tell throughout the course of this review, it's purpose built. It has a lot of nice elements. The best, likely the best clasp in the business. The lume is fantastic. The tactile feel of the bezel, it really inspires a lot of confidence. It's accurate. It has a good warranty. I like this. I look at this and I see the full retail price of $4,575, which you can likely negotiate a small discount on. And I just see a heck of a watch that really, I don't know, to me, like I mentioned earlier, this feels like what a Submariner used to be before it became a luxury status symbol. And I like that. In fact, I think the Pelagos can coexist in a collection with a Submariner. And I would be open to buying a Pelagos at some point for my own collection because I really think that highly of this watch. Great contrast, great history. I love the snowflake hands. I mean, there really is a lot to like here. To me, I could live with the negative elements, but maybe one day Tudor thins it out a little bit or simplifies the text on the dial, or maybe changes the grade of titanium. I don't know. I don't think they're deal breakers, but let me know what you guys think of this model. And would you pick this over a Submariner? Maybe you think, well, there's just no way that I could, even if I did save the $8,000, that I could even get a Submariner because they have become such an exclusive item for preferred clients. I know that's kind of a touchy subject. I look at this and I think it's a really strong offering. So guys, thanks for listening to my rather long-winded presentation here. And I want to say, if you're shopping for a Tudor, I found a good authorized dealer, a family-owned brick and mortar store that one of my viewers works at. So I'm going to recommend Brad at Brent L Miller in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, as a great authorized dealer to buy Tudor from, and they do ship around the country. So I'll put Brad's cell phone in the description, or if you want to reach out to me, if you're really serious about buying one of these, I can talk to Brad for you, see what we can do. But if you're looking for a Tudor, I definitely would recommend Brad at Brent L Miller in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So I want to thank them for lending this in. They've not paid me, nothing like that. It's just a nice partnership where I have access to lovely Tudor watches, and you guys have access to a trusted authorized dealer, or you get that recommendation. So again, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.